A highly regarded Chinese surgeon has spectacularly and scandalously fallen from grace, exposing the flaws in modern Chinese society. Welcome to China Uncensored, I'm Chris Chappell. Before I begin, YouTube is promoting pro-CCP content and trying to silence shows like China Uncensored. When I did an incognito search on YouTube for China, the first China Uncensored video that came up was the number 552nd video. So since YouTube loves the CCP so much, show how much you love the CCP by leaving a comment below with Chinese leader Xi Jinping's absolute favorite, a honeypot emoji. So, for as long as there's been modern medicine, there have been notorious doctors. And I'm not just talking about fictional doctors like Dr. Frankenstein, Dr. Jekyll, and Dr. Dre. For anyone saying he's real, show me his doctorate degree. Stories of crazy and unethical doctors have surfaced all over the world throughout history, and China is no exception. Take Dr. He Jiankui, for example. He was sentenced to 3 years in a Chinese prison in 2019 for violating medical regulations and forging documents so that he could create the world's first genetically edited babies. Do you know how bad of a doctor you have to be to get arrested and put in prison in a country where they forcibly harvest organs from dissidents and minorities? Something that few victims have escaped to talk about. But few reports about doctors in China have drawn as much attention as the recent scandal surrounding Dr. Xiao Fei. Not only because it involves serial infidelity, but also because it highlights a lot of what Chinese people are fed up with about Chinese society under the Communist Party. Not long ago, Xiao Fei was a surgeon at the highly regarded China-Japan Friendship Hospital in Beijing, and a rising star in the Chinese medical community. He was also a Communist Party member, and had been awarded the title of Outstanding Communist Party member for his medical work. He was married to Gu Xiaoya, a leading eye doctor at Beijing Hospital, and together they have a daughter. But despite her expertise in eyes, she somehow didn't see the next part coming, because despite their family life and plenty of personal success, the doctor couple wasn't exactly living in marital bliss. According to Gu, Xiao had been cheating on her as far back as when she was pregnant with their daughter in 2016. If only he was an OBGYN, he could have said it was just part of an exam. In 2019, she discovered that Xiao was having an affair with Yuhui, a head nurse in his department at the China-Japan Friendship Hospital. The two of them would allegedly stay in a hotel room together on work trips, and during their time together, Shi reportedly even became pregnant, twice. And they didn't keep them. China's facing a population decrease. Do your part for the motherland. According to Gu, all attempts to end the affair were fruitless. Even when Shi's husband got involved, the two of them seemingly refused to break off their relationship. Then in June 2024, things apparently got even more messy when Xiao started up another affair, this time with Xiying, a resident physician also at the same hospital. Man, at least try cheating with someone from a different hospital. Just because you're an unfaithful scumbag doesn't mean you have to be lazy. Their relationship allegedly developed so quickly that when Dong was supposed to move to another medical department just 1 month later, Xiao pulled strings to ensure that she remained in his department. And their time together wasn't exactly low-key. At one point, the two of them reportedly got into a heated argument involving a nurse in the middle of an operating room with a sedated patient lying on the operating table. Afterward, Dong stormed out of the room with Xiao right behind her, leaving the patient and the nurse behind. It's lucky the patient was sedated, or else seeing this might have put them into a cringe coma. The situation had reached peak drama. So late last year, Xiao's wife, Gu, filed for divorce against Xiao. She later learned that he was already living with Dong, who was pregnant with his child. For the motherland! A lot of this dramatic account comes from a long letter dated from mid-April that Gu addressed to the disciplinary committee at Xiao's hospital. In it, she writes that she wanted to report her husband's extramarital affairs as well as his apparent intent to have a child out of wedlock because she believed his behavior seriously violated social morality and professional ethics and had a profound negative impact on both the hospital and the education of medical students. Which is hard to argue since it Probably confused students if in the middle of their first surgery observation, their mentor screamed and chased his baby mama out of the room before even making the first incision. She also states that she initially wanted to avoid all of this, but that Xiao made threats to seek full custody of their daughter, which pushed her to expose his affairs and seek justice. The story is not just based on Gu's own claims, though. Her letter contains exact dates, locations, and chat records that back up her account. She had more receipts than a person getting audited. So how do we know all this? Well, it didn't take long for the letter to appear on social media and get picked up by Chinese media outlets, sending sparks flying and erupting into a wildfire. Once the story went viral, Xiao's hospital issued a statement where it basically confirmed that the allegations brought against him were true. And unlike Xiao's patient during a messy fight, the hospital couldn't sleep on this. Hospital records also reportedly back up Gu's claim that the first mistress, had gotten pregnant twice in 2019. An internal group chat showed that the hospital management was made aware of the dispute involving Xiao and Dong in the operating room, where the two left the sedated patient lying on the operating table. Soon after, everyone started distancing themselves from Xiao. He was expelled from the Communist Party, his profile was removed from his hospital site, and his employment was terminated. The CCP was like, this isn't the type of moral conduct we expect from doctors in a party that steals organs. The fate of Yuhui is currently unknown, but there are rumors that Dong Xiying has left China for the US. The thing is that it's not just the juicy details of this high drama that has set the Chinese internet on fire. In fact, the story quickly became about much more than just infidelity and wrecked careers. You see, this comes at a time when other medical scandals have recently sent shockwaves through Chinese society. For example, the case of the Chinese student in 2021 that was subjected to an unnecessary medical procedure and pressured by staff to pay more money while she was laying on the operating table. And then there's the case of the Chinese doctor in 2022 that was live streaming while performing gynecological surgery on a sedated patient. I didn't realize it was even medically necessary for a doctor to start an OnlyFans for you. On top of that, an even more concerning scandal recently rocked trust in the Chinese medical system when a number of Chinese medical professionals cited alarming experiences with local pharmaceutical brands involving anesthesia that doesn't make people go to sleep, blood pressure medication that doesn't lower blood pressure, and laxatives that don't get the job done. So when you add to the mix the case of a highly regarded surgeon like Xiao Fei leaving a sedated patient on the operating table to comfort his mistress after using his influence to keep her in the same department as him, faith is not exactly restored. One user on the Chinese social media platform Weibo put it pretty well when the person called Xiao's conduct completely outrageous and a serious threat to patient safety. But Xiao's fate was just the first act of this story's life on social media. After all, the cardinal rule of messy social media drama is it can always get messier. Because some digging into the background of the second mistress, Dong Xiying, completely threw open the gates on a jumble of other societal issues in China. Dong actually began her studies not in the medical field, but with a degree in economics from Barnard College in New York. From there, she got enrolled in a prestigious fast-track medical program at Peking Union Medical College, where she was praised for her talents that are totally real and earned. And I'm totally not setting you up for a twist here. Nope, no sir. Dong quickly became the lead author of research papers on everything from gynecology to thoracic surgery to cancer diagnosis. As a result, she was naturally mentioned in the commencement address of the president of the medical college. But who is this young medical genius whose career was also destroyed in the love affair scandal? Well, it turns out that Dong is a very well-connected woman. Her mom is the vice president of another university in Beijing, and her dad is a senior executive at a state-owned enterprise. And when people started to investigate Dong's work, there were a lot of signs that her family background, rather than any medical genius, was what propelled her to the top. Dong's doctoral thesis turned out to have a lot of similarities with a patent submitted by a graduate student at her mom's university, who just happened to be mentored by her mom's sister. On top of that, It's been alleged that in several of the research papers where she was listed as a lead author, she actually did little more than translate Chinese guidelines to English. It doesn't help her image that many of the students in the fast-track medical program she was enrolled in arrived with foreign degrees and top-class letters of recommendation, a fact that has led many to view the program as little more than a backdoor into medicine for the children of the Chinese elite. But hey, what's the big deal? It can't be that hard. It's not like brain surgery is brain surgery. After the scandal exploded, the medical college that had promoted Dong as a top talent quickly removed her research articles from their site and even edited her name out of the commencement address she had been mentioned in. It was the most censored name in a school since Voldemort in Hogwarts. An investigation launched by China's National Health Commission recently concluded that Dong had in fact falsified academic records and committed plagiarism. And the idea that a person unqualified to practice medicine was potentially playing a vital role in life or death surgeries was yet another blow to the credibility of the Chinese medical system. Even more so, the strong implications of nepotism in Dong's rise have sparked intense discussions on Chinese social media about the state of meritocracy in China. One Chinese blogger posted this meme as part of a story on WeChat, which later circulated widely on the Chinese internet. The meme shows a patient on an operating table admitting that he only got there through connections, but the doctor admits that so did he, and so did the rest of the staff, and the lamp, and the monitor, and all the other medical equipment. Though to be fair, since they're electronic equipment, they would need connections to work. One user on Weibo commented about Dong's case that one Dong Xiying is not scary. What's scary is how many Dong Xiyings are out there. A widely read essay expanded on that point, arguing that some professionals in China have been increasingly hijacked by privileged families. Never thought I'd say this, but I'd feel safer with robots taking those jobs. These families leverage their networks to set their kids up within their own field, even if it's not what the kids are particularly suited for. And specific examples of this sort of thing can spark public outrage because many Chinese families spend fortunes on schooling, tutoring, and extracurricular activities for their children to give them the best prerequisites to compete in a highly competitive education system and later the job market, where unemployment is high for newly graduated students. So it's a hard slap in the face when there are signs that others can just waltz into lucrative positions because of their privileged backgrounds. It makes lying flat and letting it rot seem less like protests and more like a cost-saving and mental health-improving career path. This also makes a mockery of the agenda of Chinese leader Xi Jinping, who for years has touted common prosperity and giving every Chinese person a fair share of what modern China has to offer. Oh no, you mean to tell me powerful people within a communist system are exploiting their position? Well, maybe the next time will be the first time communism actually works. The bad look for the government is probably why just a few days after the medical infidelity scandal made up more than half of the top searches on Weibo, the Chinese authorities started to crack down, removing comments and deleting posts. Still, by that point, the many layers of the scandal had already circulated far and wide on the Chinese internet, and onto the American internet, where I got to read every juicy detail. I do love me some gossip. Oh, Xiao, you so messy. Other, even more shocking scandals have made it onto the Chinese internet before as well, of course. But as one blogger said about this one, it's rare for a central figure in a single case to touch on 5 major socially sensitive issues all at once: educational fairness, doctor-patient trust, marital fidelity, class solidification, lack of upward mobility, and academic corruption. Yes, it is a freaky combo. A bunch of disjointed parts that probably shouldn't have been brought together in the first place. Yet now, they have been welded into a monstrosity, and we just can't look away. Dr. Frankenstein would have been stoked. And remember, as I said in the beginning, YouTube is trying to bury China Uncensored. Even if you're subscribed and have notifications turned on, YouTube might not notify you about new episodes. Because why would they think you wanted to be notified? That's why we created a free weekly newsletter that has all of that week's episodes, so you can see the videos YouTube didn't tell you about. So be like Truck Captain Stump, who says he's headed to the Substack now since YouTube isn't even putting China Uncensored in his feed, even though he's subscribed. The link to the newsletter is below. And while you're down there, don't forget to leave a honeypot comment. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.